Alrighty, boys. Well, it is my pleasure to welcome on our next guest to this podcast. I am super excited to announce that Zach Fucale, 2013 Memorial Cup champion, drafted in the second round by the Montreal Canadiens, and one of the newest members of the Washington Capitals organization, has decided to join us today. Zach, welcome.
Guys, thank you. Good evening to everybody, man. This is cool to be on.
Yeah, definitely great to have you. So, this is very cool for us. We've been fans for a very long time, and let's just start at the beginning. Let's talk about your playing career and how you got started, in hockey. Right from the beginning. So, tell us a little bit about where you grew up and how you first got into playing the game.
So I grew up maybe 30 minutes north of Montreal, in the Laurentians, and yeah, man. I'm from Rosemère, Quebec, French part here in Canada, and yeah, I grew up playing hockey. I started maybe 5-6 years old, and the year before I played hockey, I was actually doing speed skating. That's how I first got on the ice, and one of my buddy's dads noticed I really like, goalies and stuff like that, and the hockey gear, pretty much the goalie gear and the helmets. And I really was a fan of Marty Brodeur, and Josie Theodore was the goalie here in Montreal. Actually, he played for Caps as well, but he was the goalie at the beginning of his career here in Montreal. And for me, there was just an opportunity for me to go in the net. Somebody didn't show up, and my buddy's dad came up. Hey, Zach, I remember you like Marty Brodeur. You want to try out being goalie? I don't know. I'm 5-6 years old at this point. And yeah, I just went in there, loved it, and been a goalie ever since. There's been maybe 1 year in Adam I wanted to go out and score some goals, which I ended up doing a few of those, scoring a few of those, which was cool. And then I went back goalie, and the rest is history. Here we are.
So you just felt bad for everyone. You're like, I'm so talented that I can play net and score. I better just pick one.
Actually, I don't know if that's what it was, man. I don't know if I would go that far, but I'm gonna say that there was a moment where I wanted to just know the feeling of scoring a goal. And apparently, my dad told me this story again, which I didn't really remember it was like that, but it didn't. In my head, it didn't go down like that. But apparently, the day before, like camps where I was going forward, I go, you know what, Dad, I don't want to do it. Let me go goalie. And he's like, you made a decision a couple months ago. You're going to have to live with that. And so I kind of had cold feet, but I ended up playing the year forward, really fun. But then at the end, I say, you know what, I'm probably better off going, but I think I'm better as a goalie. And so a little bit easier on the lungs, I thought. But as you go higher in the hockey world, it's not easier on your lungs to be.
No, I'm sure it's not.
A couple 5-on-3s and you feel it.
So I'm assuming that, you grew up 30 minutes outside of Montreal. So I'm assuming, big Habs fan growing up. Who were some of your favorite players? And I know you mentioned Jose and Marty Brodeur. Were there any Habs specifically that, other Habs that stood out?
Dude, yeah, I was one of the biggest Montreal Canadiens fans you can imagine when I was a kid. And that's what kind of makes it crazy. I was drafted there. Yeah, I was. My dog's being yelling. And yeah, well, I liked Josie Theodore. Obviously, Cristobal Huet was unreal in Montreal before Halak and Carey Price came by when I got a little bit older. But geez, man, my favorite players. Probably Saku Koivu, Alex Kovalev.
Oh,
when he played in Montreal, he was quite the force. I don't know, man. I think Saku Koivu was a fan favorite for years here. He was our captain for me growing up, pretty much. And but there was some pretty great players. I enjoyed watching Alex Kovalev. My dad and I were fans too, so it's pretty awesome.
He was awesome to watch.
Just was he ever
skilled.
Yeah, pretty special breed.
Did was there any specific goalie when you were growing up that you were like, I want to play like him? Was that, Marty for you?
At a young age, yeah, Marty Brodeur was an inspiration of mine. And as I grew older, I kind of diversified in that category. It's very strange now, but at 25 years old, I can say that I was in the same organization as Carey Price, Marc-Andre Fleury, and and now Henrik Lundqvist that I've looked up to for a very long time. And I think many goalies in the world have looked up to these all these
Sure.
guys that are shining right now in the NHL and having quite the careers. But I think we've all kind of grew up. I say grow up, but 18 on really kind of um, looking up to these people, these great players.
Yeah, absolutely.
So fast forwarding, obviously, you say you start out playing goalie, you're from Montreal, you talk about your idols, and I'm just going to fast forward a little bit for the sake of time here, but in 2011, right, you get taken by the Mooseheads in the Q, and you're the 11th overall pick. So just talk about like how that experience was. I mean, when you look at this roster and your experience there, this is one of the most stacked rosters arguably in junior history. I mean, what was that all like?
Honestly, the Q draft is pretty awesome because they make it just like the NHL draft. It's not like the other junior leagues where they just call you on the phone and say, "Hey, we drafted you 2 hours ago." No, it's really cool where they set up the whole thing on the rink just like they would in the NHL, and there's interviews and stuff. Just one sec, I think my dog is trying to find something.
No,
She left.
you're
She
all
left
good.
her little thing here. What are you looking for, Stella? Oh, that's what you're looking for. Okay, here we go. Okay, sorry guys. So yeah, they make it really professional. It looks really dope, and I was really fortunate to be picked by the Mooseheads because ended up that they had quite the young roster. We were all kind of up and coming and rebuilt really well, and all of a sudden that year we had quite the explosion year. We were pretty much half the team was 16, 17, 18 year olds. And the year after that we were just too strong. I feel like we kind of grew up quite a bit that summer, the whole team, and just 1 year made what an incredible difference. And then we went on to have one of the greatest junior seasons pretty much of all time. So it was pretty wild, pretty wild.
Yeah, I mean, we'll touch on that in a second and some of the names you got to play with, but you yourself, I mean, just an insane first year. You set a league record for most wins by a rookie with 32, and you made the Q all rookie team. I mean, is there any like one factor that you can think that led to your success so quick, or how's that all go?
One factor that led to that much success, to be honest with you, I think it was opportunity. I was just there, and there was an injury, and I was at the right place at the right time. But I wouldn't attribute it too much to just pure luck. I'm gonna say that my goalie coach and I, the moment I got drafted, even before that first season started, we started going on the ice, and he was putting me through the ringer, man. Like pretty much breaking my game down. And we repeated and repeated and repeated so many different movements to really dial things in even before that season started. And no, I really put in the work for that, and the results showed. I mean, I just put my fate in like my goalie coach, and I just listened, and I said fate, but I meant faith in my goalie coach, and he really helped me, man. Like he just put some work ethic inside me, and also same with my system, just to play the game a certain way. And next thing you know, we were just winning games. I get the opportunity to play, and you, like I said, like you combine that work ethic we put in with the opportunity to play a lot of games, and it worked out. We got a lot of wins that year at 16, so it's pretty dope.
You talk a little bit about your goalie coach there, and I'm curious too. I know goaltending such a unique position, and a lot of it is obviously mental. And I'm curious whether there's one coach or one person that you kind of attribute your success or something you've learned from one player, whether it is that coach or somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned a big. I'm not gonna. A big majority of how I play the game now has come from Eric Raymond, my goalie coach from the time I became a junior goalie. But I'm not going to say that I attribute most of my success to Eric Raymond. It was very much alongside him, alongside together as a team, pretty much, where he gave me a lot of his knowledge, and I was just the one executing it. And that's kind of how that team, kind of, how can I say this in English? Pretty much that vibe we created over some time, where we just fed off each other. I got the right information. He knew me. He knew how to feed me that information properly, and it just clicked. And now, after looking back, I have learned from many different goalie coaches. I've been fortunate to get information from very top class goalie coaches in the world. But Eric has been a source of inspiration for me since I'm pretty young. So that's been a plus.
Going back to that 2013 season in Halifax, I mean, you end up passing J.S. Giguère for most wins by a Mooseheads netminder of all time during that season. You held a .918 save percentage throughout that playoffs, and you guys only lost one game. I mean, I remember watching those, and I was like, this is just unbelievable.
That's absurd.
You guys were steamrolling teams. What was that experience like? What was that playoff, run like? And, that was the Mooseheads' first President's Cup, was it not?
It was the first President's Cup and Memorial Cup that year. And, that was wild, man. I don't know what to say about that. You just said it. I mean, I didn't have to say it. You said it. 16-1 in the playoffs is just, we were just ready, man. The coaching staff got us ready. We had the players. We had the deep squad. We were just clicking. It just worked. It was just great, man.
When you get on a roll like that, is like, what's the confidence level like in the locker room before a game? Do you guys just feel kind of unstoppable, or how does that work? Going into a game when you guys have won so many in a row and you're really hot.
There's one thing I'm gonna say on that, is that there were some times where we got on streaks, and I remember a specific time where we were pretty hot. As you can imagine, we only lost 8 that year, so it was a moment where we were pretty hot. And we came back, we scored a couple goals, we won the period or whatever, and the coach came in and just gave it to us for a while. And he was telling us, like, yeah, you may be up, you guys may be good, but you're going to start facing good competition. They're going to destroy you. And next thing you know, this happened where he would just we would just veer off the course a little bit, and boom, he would just bring us back to that kind of path, right? And you could still be winning but not play the game properly, and that's where down the run in the playoffs, where it really counts, you get stung by big clubs. So I think we kind of have to thank our coach for that, because he was very hard on everyone in terms of the execution, how things had to be done, how you play the game. He always used this analogy, and my teammates would, if they heard this analogy, we would 100% all remember it. He would always say, hey, if you do the work right before your test, doesn't matter what the teacher asks you at the exam, you could be ready to answer any question. It's about preparing for that test. If you're not prepared, you're scared. If you're not prepared, you're scared. Oh, I hope he doesn't ask about this question. I hope he doesn't ask about this question. But if you do the work in practice, you know your system, you know how to play the game, you play the game the right way, they can throw anything at you in terms of questions you're ready to answer. And that was an analogy that kind of stuck to me. And I guess it's a good life lesson, because it can apply to many different things. But yeah, our coach put us back, and we could get hot during the season. He always brought us back, even though we were winning, not playing right. That's probably a big reason why down the stretch, where you look at our record in the playoffs, because we were kind of conditioned to the fact that you didn't deviate. And when you did, he brought us back. So we were conditioned long before we actually had that success, period.
So, I mean, this might be stating the obvious, but I think another big part of the success is, I guess, hindsight bias. But if you look at some of the names that you played with now, I mean, holy crap. Can you talk a little bit about like what it was like to play with McKinnon, Drouin, these guys? I mean, they were arguably one of the best, if not the best, duo in junior history.
Yeah, and you say duo, but we were very deep. We were much deeper than two players.
Fair point, yeah.
if you can go down that roster, I think our third and fourth line guys even had 20, 30 goals. So,
Wow.
we were very deep squad. I mean, Nate and Joe, obviously, like this is why this question kind of bothers me sometimes, because at the end of the day, it's like Nate and Joe, like I answer this question and I'm not giving you any new information you didn't know. You know what I mean? Like you guys already know they were great. You knew we got the chance to play with them, and they were part of our team, man. It didn't matter that they were playing at that level. They were just contributors to the same cause. And it was great for me as a goalie. It gave me that challenge every single practice. If you look at the roster, Jesus, I got shots from some pretty top players out there. So no, I'm lucky guy, and I was pretty privileged. But yeah, they were great players to have on the team that year. You could probably imagine that.
I mean, Marty Furk can shoot the puck, 109 miles an hour, apparently, according to that skills competition.
And
so
I'll tell you something for free, guys. In junior, it wasn't that far off from what he did last year. It didn't get that much faster. I'll tell you that right now. This awesome. Guy would abuse my shoulders, and I would get hurt very frequently from shots. I'd get some bruises from him.
So I was originally going to save this question for later, but I feel like it would be appropriate now. I mean,
why would you wait for later?
Exactly. So like, this is kind of a loaded question, and there might not be one answer, but like in your career, who's been the hardest like shot to stop in your opinion? I think that's one that all like the fans would want to know.
That's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of good shots out there. Marty Furk's got a really, really good shot. Max Pacioretty has quite the release. Like, I mean, it's tough to answer because
loaded question.
I mean, look, this is now you said stating the obvious earlier, but I might be stating the obvious. I've seen a lot of shots in my life, and this is not. It's not like it's not a brag or anything. It's just. It's tough for me to just sit down right now and think, okay, well, I got shots from this guy and this guy. Like, there's so many good freaking shots, man. Like,
so let me,
especially nowadays, like Mac, like, especially nowadays, Jesus, these sticks, man. It doesn't matter if you're good or not; they just come off your blade, and I think some of the most deceptive shots are going to be the ones that are the hardest.
Let me refine the question just a little bit, and I've always been curious of this from goaltenders in general, but. I'm curious, you're in the middle of a game and whether it's a breakaway or whether it's a power play or whatever, there's an offensive threat. Do you always know who is shooting, or is it just another shooter to you at the end of the day,
It's happened many, many times where you do notice who it is, from like the scouting and the preparation before. A lot of times with the tendencies, you have to be able to identify these people on the ice, and their own tendencies personally. But it has happened, man, where sometimes you get in a zone and honestly, it doesn't really matter, where you're just focused on certain things in your game. You're just doing them. And sometimes it's like that where you just don't notice who the shooter is, and you get scored a goal or two or whatever. And, after the game, they come to you and talk about a play. You're like, oh, that was you, you don't like, but there are some games where you're kind of really dialed in on who's shooting. Some no, like I wouldn't be able to say one happens more than the other. It's actually a good question because I don't know.
So going back to that Memorial Cup experience, I mean, it's one of the hardest trophies in all of sports to win. Not only are you beating, you're winning your league, and then you're going to beat two other teams that beat their league, and then a host team that's been preparing for this moment for, up to a month at this point. What was that experience like?
It was very special, not once during the season did we actually mention the Memorial Cup, where we might have mentioned it during camp. Hey, look, this might be our objective. If we're good, we can get all the way there eventually. But then after that, we never really mentioned it. It was kind of just like, in the back of our heads, where we didn't really mention it, but it was just there. And then all of a sudden it happens and you're there, and we're in the final against Portland, and freaking sick club on the other side. You look at their lineup and it's like, Jesus, these are like all first round picks on the other side. And It was quite the battle, quite the game, and like you said, it's very, very hard to even participate in that type of game. You have a certain amount of years you're eligible to play junior, and then you have to win your league if you're not a host, and got to go through these teams to get to the final. And we were fortunate to just be prepared for those types of situations. And honestly, the feeling is really unlike any other because it is quite the journey to get there. Um, and it's a very special trophy. It represents a lot. And at first, I didn't realize this, but this was the first time Halifax even had the chance to do that. So it was very, very cool.
What was the reception like when you guys brought it back there? I'm sure it was just incredible.
Oh, it was really dope. There was thousands and thousands of people at our parade. Honestly, I can't tell you how many thousand. I think on a past podcast I might have said 6 or 7, but
wow.
At some point you there's a certain number where it could be either 10,000 or it could be 700,000. And you wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah.
It was a lot of people there, and it so happened to be my birthday that day where we were doing the parade. I'm on stage and I had all these 10,000 to 175,000 people singing my birthday. But no, I know
so
that's
cool.
an exaggerated number. It could have been a few thousand, but yeah, it was a dope moment.
That's awesome. So you end up, finishing with, what's just an incredible career as a Moosehead. I mean, you're the all-time leader in regular season wins, playoff wins, and shutouts. And then you move on to Quebec. What was that transition like?
The transition was very strange, to be honest with you, because I was at the World Juniors when the trade happened. And so we end up winning that, and I go back to Halifax because I was traded during the tournament, so I had to go back, get my stuff, my car, and all these things, and say goodbye to my bill and all that. And it was very strange because I had kind of I dropped a puck. I did a ceremonial puck drop for like the World Junior celebration, and also the fact that it was my last time I was going to be in the Scotiabank Center. Actually, I don't think I've been back ever since, and it was a very strange moment because as up to this point, I only thing I knew about junior hockey and everything that revolved around my life in terms of high end hockey was the Halifax Mooseheads. Like that's all I really knew. I would go to the Team Canada and come back, but that's all I really knew. So it was very strange that all of a sudden it was kind of ending and I had to go somewhere else to play and put on the new jersey. And it was pretty strange. I wasn't very good in Quebec during the end of that season. I really wasn't. I didn't have a really good end to the season. It was very strange for me. I might have had a little dip in energy from after the World Juniors, which is not uncommon. But yeah, I'll be honest. It was just strange for me. I don't know if I had trouble transitioning with that. Ended up, though, that they didn't start me in the playoffs. And Callum, young goalie, he's very good. He's pro as well now. And he started in the playoffs, and I sort of got the opportunity to get back in that game 3 or 4, and then I just kept rolling. We went all the way to game 7 in the final. So I found it back. I got back in there and found the rhythm, found the feel again, and found that competition. I don't know if I needed to be in the playoffs to get back in the form, but it was really dope, and that run was so sick, man. We had such a good team. Quebec City is an unreal place to play, man. Fans for days and really, really passionate people there. And next thing you know, we go to game 7, double OT against the Rimouski Oceanic, pretty much. Other than, if I'm going to say, Chicoutimi, Saguenay's, Rimouski is like one of the biggest rivals of Quebec, and now we're in Game 7 of President's Cup, double overtime. Man, it doesn't get more like wild than
That's
that.
it right
night
there.
Before, dude, that was for sure. It's in the top 3 most exciting like moments, hockey like time of my life. I'm not even hesitating to say that it was the most intense feeling to be in such a game like that. Like the night before, we were up 2 goals away, I think 6 or 7 minutes, and we were winning that cup. Like we were up, and we ended up losing in overtime the night before this game. And it's 1-1, and we're double OT, man. And I remember I made a couple of saves in the first overtime that really, really really got your heart racing. And next thing you know, we lost, man. But it was one of the most incredible experiences to be there. And then we went on to the Memorial Cup because we were the hosts that year, and it was wild. It was just wild. Really cool ending to my junior career, but it was strange when I did have to deal with that transition. I talked for the past 5 minutes here. I know, I realize that, but it was very strange transition. But it ended up like really well with Quebec. Like it was a really dope run. Looking back, okay, we can all say it sucked that we lost, but looking back at our lives, we got to live that type of stuff. That's pretty wild.
So you talk about, I'm actually interested. You said, you made a couple of saves in that overtime that really got your heart racing. And much earlier, you mentioned when you had kind of ventured out to try forward that 1 year in Atom hockey, you wanted to know what it felt like to score a goal. I'm curious, a lot of hockey players that are not goaltenders don't know what it feels like to make a insane save in a really important overtime game like that. And how does that compare to maybe, it's hard to say, I'm sure, since you haven't played a lot of forward, but how does that compare to scoring a goal in the moment? Do you're like, oh, wow, I just did that. Is that a really like humbling moment, or what does that feel?
It is. It's a really good question that we don't talk about a lot because we don't really talk about the emotions of the goalies. The goalies are known to be, in these situations are like straight face poker, like, yeah, don't worry, like calmness, like in these types of situations. Like a lot of times we'll talk about players like, oh yeah, we feel very comfortable with him, very confident. He makes us feel relaxed and stuff. But as a goalie, yes, you do feel relaxed. Like when you're in that zone and you're in it, you do feel like kind of time slows down. However, we're talking about these specific saves. These are big moments in games, and we know that. Like we know very well when you make a big backdoor stop, you go to the other end and you score a goal. You can't win the game, no matter the heroes, no matter the nice move, the shot to score the goal. It's an amazing feeling, obviously, to end the game. But on the other end, there is something to be said about making even a routine stop that could completely just not give you a chance to win. Like every save is so important in a hockey game, whether it's the simplest difficulty to a routine glove save with 3 seconds left in the game. Like there's a lot on the line when you're a goalie, and a save it makes you feel real good when you contribute to a win, especially a tight win. I'm gonna say this, like in hockey, I don't play for myself. Like I just don't. I don't get shot pucks at my throat every day just for myself. Like I don't gain anything like super great when I get, pucks to the head, no? So I can easily say that I'm a goalie, not for myself, but for the feeling you get when you get back in the room on a 3-2 win or 2-1 win or 4-3, like really tight game. That's what I'm chasing as a person, as a goalie. It's the feeling you get when it's all said and done. We're talking about those overtime saves. Like those are the feelings you want to contribute to the team. It's not a selfish like, oh, I made the save. It's not that. It's really a contribution to others, and that's what gets me going in a game. Even it's a tight game, you get that feeling.
For sure, that's awesome.
That's a great answer. Nick, I think you had something that you wanted to ask about the Ramparts, no?
Yeah, so that was like what they said, unbelievable answer. That Memorial Cup in Quebec, you talked about how Quebec City has some of the best hockey fans in the world, if not the best. I will never forget that, specifically the game against Kelowna. I believe
Were
it was
you watching that?
I was watching that live.
My last junior game, you watched that?
Yeah, so
you remember the score?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's my last junior game.
Yeah, that was a tough one, and
Isn't
I remember
that unbelievable, like
vividly in the second period.
Look, we talked about all the wins, all this, all that. Like you look at like my junior career and our teams there, and you look at my last game, and what was my last game? A 9-2 ass whooping, man. Like we got killed. Like we straight up got killed, man. But you know what the beauty of it all is? My coach, after 5 goals, I think he looked at me and he's like, "Are you done?" Like, I think he called a timeout at some point. He came to me. He's like, "Look, what do you want to do? Like, you want to stay in? What's the deal? You want to get out? I mean, I could put you back in the last 5 minutes or whatever you want, but fuck, what are we gonna do?" You know, like he was just straight up asking me, "You want to stay in? You want to come out?" Pretty much. I was miserable in there. I was doing terrible. The team wasn't playing well. There's like 6 guys with separated shoulders and freaking broken knees on the ice. Like,
Christ.
we went through a war with Rimouski, and literally guys were playing with serious injuries. Like, guys were being warriors out there, and they just wanted to battle it out in the Memorial Cup. And I was sick like a dog at the Memorial Cup. I remember I had to have a special room at the hotel so my mom could
Oh,
stay as
wow.
well, because it was like I was so sick. I needed somebody to help me out. So, like, anyway, long story short, I'm playing terrible in my last junior game and we're getting killed. And I decided I told Bush, I said, win or lose, like, it doesn't matter to me if I get scored 18. Like, I've had great games. Like, it's not this that's gonna change anything in my life. Like, whatever, you get killed, whatever. And I won. I won
There
it
you go.
already.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hell
not
yeah.
selfishly, but also like, I'm gonna step out of this last junior game for my own pride in this, when I can still finish it off with some balls. Like, I took that option. It was harder to go through, but we got killed 9-2, and that was my last junior game. It was we still had the support of our fans, even though at some point they're really hard on us, but we still did it.
That's
Yeah,
what's
and I
up.
mean, yeah, they definitely showed their displeasure for the officiating that evening. I remember watching, and there were a couple questionable hits, and I remember vividly.
So you
like,
rewatched this. Obviously, you rewatched this
Yeah.
not long ago.
Yeah. So second period, they, start littering the ice with stuff after I think it was Madison Bowie like choke slammed one of your teammates.
Yeah, it got nasty, but hey, look. This was a killer of a team. Like, this was
Yeah.
like, talk about Kelowna that year. They were freaking sick.
They were loaded.
And the thing is we had an equally strong club, but we were like mangled. And when I tell you guys were playing with injuries, like, I'm being serious. Like, you could look around and ask around. But hey, you watched it. Good for you, because it's going to take a lot for me to rewatch that game.
Yeah, I don't blame you for
I don't know.
that one.
I think I got to wait another 30, 40 years before I have to rewatch that one.
But no,
Buy
it's good.
myself-
I mean,
I'll buy
came out of
myself a
it,
Blu-ray
so-
disc 40 years from now, an old rusty one.
There you
and
go.
I don't know, man.
That's good of it. I mean, you came out of it with the right mentality. You're like, I won, I've done this, I've been here, who cares? So, I mean, that's awesome to hear.
No, I mean, it's not that who cares. And you don't mean that as well, like that.
Right.
What I meant by that is, like, I'm not going to give up on these last 20 minutes when
Right, exactly.
I've been through all those good times, bad times, good times in junior. I've seen it roll, and I'm just going to sit out the last 25 minutes because I'm not doing well. I didn't want to be that guy. So I wrote it out and said, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to be here until the end. And yeah, like I said, man, it took for me to put away my pride a little bit, because it was tough to get scored, and
Sure.
it was at home, right? It was a full house at home.
So backtracking a little bit from there, I want to talk about the draft, the NHL draft for you. So in 2013, you're taken 36 overall by the Habs, and you're the first goalie to go. Talk about that experience. What, from where you grew up, what was it like to be drafted by that team?
I mean, I was a fan growing up, so it was very, very. I felt very, very privileged, and my whole family was super proud. I was super proud of it, and it was quite the accomplishment. I'm still chasing my first NHL game, but that's where it all started for me, and it was a great moment. A lot of kids get to live that, and it's something that they can never take away from you. But for me, that was just the first step in quite the journey for myself as a professional. It's a great feeling to be drafted. Look, let's make that very clear. It's a great feeling. But personally, I wanted more than just that, and I'm still in that journey. And it hasn't been easy for me. It's been up and down, and a few changes in organization. But I hold my head pretty high because of the journey that I've been going through lately. Is I've learned a lot about myself, and it gives me great confidence to know that I've been through some pretty tough times too. And now it makes me feel really confident in my abilities, because I went through those things, and I created a system that I feel works. And it all started with that draft day, man. And ever since then, it was quite the journey, up and down. Yes, of course, took a few left and right turns, but the GPS is still set on the main address, and I'm still, maybe rerouting here and there, but still going to the same destination in my mind.
Were you in New Jersey on draft night? Like, were you at the rink and
Oh yeah,
everything?
man. I mean, I had my billet family from Halifax there. Buddies drove down to New York. My whole family, brothers, my billet brothers. Yeah, I have 2 sisters though, and everybody was there. Everybody was there.
That's awesome.
I have a lot of family in New York as well, so they were
cool.
all present.
Oh,
for
perfect.
There was a
Very
loud
cool.
cheer in the rink from all the Fucales in the
I
stand.
bet, yeah, that's awesome. That's got to be a great moment.
So just because most of our listeners obviously aren't professional athletes, whatever you can tell, please do. But did you know you were going to the Habs? Like, what's the process like leading up to that? Like, do you kind of have an idea, or what? Any crazy GM stories? I mean, whatever you can tell, obviously.
I mean, I'll tell what I tell usually is that so we won the Memorial Cup. We fly back to Halifax. 2 days is the celebration, and we go out with the team. Our families are there. There's the parade. The day after the parade, a few of us are on a flight to Toronto for the NHL Combine. The day after that, we do all these tests, and some of the players opted out of the tests. They didn't do them, but I still did them. I don't know why I did them. It wouldn't have changed a thing, but here I am puking in front of the GMs for the VO2 max. And then you're there for the weekend. You do the physical test. I swear to God, I puked in front of the GMs and the
that is incredible.
a lot of players do, because you're on a bike for, I don't know,
Right.
15, 20, 25 minutes. And, I was capped. I mean, I might have been out drinking a few days before for the Memorial Cup. But, hey, you know what? That's fine.
You earned it.
Yeah, I turned 18. That was fine. And
Nice.
next thing you know, we're doing interviews with all these teams back to back to back for the weekend, and that's the NHL Combine. You do the NHL testing, and then it's the interviews pretty much. And I did 20 teams out of 30, and in my opinion, and this is like no word of a lie, in my opinion, I think my worst interview I had was with Montreal. So I'm like, okay, well, it didn't go well with the team I like growing up. Doesn't matter. There's a lot of teams that have the need for goalies and blah 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 and blah blah. And there's a lot of talk with your agent on, there's interest here because at this pick or this pick possibly, but they're not sure. But you see at the trends that teams are going in terms of goalies and stuff like that. And at the same time, on the goalie market, it's very volatile, because some teams might say, hey, look, we're not going to pick a goalie before the 4th or 5th round. And then all of a sudden, they look at the goalie coach and they say, what are we taking? Or the scouts and say, who are we taking it? So it could be very volatile in terms of the goalies. At that point, there was possibility I went in the first round, but it didn't really, really matter to me. And ended up that, Montreal had 3 picks in the second and picked me 36. And one thing I do know is the Oilers traded their pick right after I got picked. So I don't know, maybe I was going there or not, but hey, it's all good. We'll see what happens in this season. That's what counts, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're super excited to have you in DC. Definitely looking forward to that. I wanted to talk a little bit about your time playing for Team Canada. Obviously, that's, a huge honor. Anytime you get to put your country's sweater on, that definitely means a lot. So you lead Team Canada to a gold at the 2015 World Juniors.
Yep.
It's that tournament's just such a huge deal in Canada. I mean, it's, we're coming up on it again. As we close in on Christmas time. Can you talk about just, what that experience was like and what it means to win that for your country?
If you remember well, Canada was going through quite the drought before 2015, where they hadn't won in 5 years, and Canada does take the World Juniors very, very seriously in terms of their expectations and all that. And 2014, I had played it in Sweden, and we finished fourth, and we lost to Russia in the bronze medal game. And it was very hard because we really saw the reaction where, hey, look, like this is completely unacceptable to miss the podium, and when you to not have a medal. When we came back the very next year, we knew that the expectation was super high because of, now we had lost 5 in a row, and now it was in Montreal and Toronto, one of the biggest cities in Canada. So the stakes were high. We can feel it. It was awesome, man. But Hockey Canada does a great job. I say this every time. They always take all the distractions away. They take care of everything. Everything is taken care of from A to Z. You get the best food, best spots. I mean, they really take care of you, and it is quite the privilege. And to the people that got to live that know that you do feel very lucky to be a part of it, and it is a privilege. So I was very, very fortunate to be part of that as well. And my sole purpose was to just help contribute as much as I could. And that's it. That was my main focus every day when I got on the ice. I put my gear and put that jersey on. I just wanted to give a little something to the team. That's all I wanted to do. Whether I was back up that night, not playing, or in the net, I wanted to just immerse myself 100% to really give us the most I could, because we all realize that at the end of the day, this shot is going to end. Like, you only have 1 or 2 chances to be part of the World Juniors. 2 is being very generous. Some guys go 3 times, but 2 is very generous, and you really have to make the most of that opportunity. And that was my sole focus. And I felt like whenever I do put the Canada jersey, even the last few years at the Spengler Cup, I do feel like I get in a certain zone where I can elevate, and that feels real nice.
This is more of a specific thing, something I'm just kind of personally curious about. But in a Team Canada locker room like that, does everybody speak French, or are there some guys that are not French Canadian? Like how much? How
It's
much?
mainly all English.
Okay.
It's mainly all English, and even the French guys that they're kind of expected to speak with everybody in English because they don't want anybody left out or anything like that, or
Makes
anybody
sense, yeah.
talking behind each other's backs.
Right.
So everybody's kind of expected. There's always the running joke, and every hockey team in the world probably, where a French guy or two will be in a locker room, start speaking French, and all the other guys are like, hey, English. Like, that's always English. But that's been like that even in the Canada locker room.
Gotcha.
So that, I mean, you were lights out in that tournament. 949 save percentage over 5 games. That's incredible. And you end up tying Stéphane Fiset and Marc-Andre Fleury for most wins by a Canadian goaltender at the tournament. As Americans, that's insanely frustrating for us because we particularly struggled that year with goaltending. But you've always seemed to have just this great sense of motivation when it comes to these big games. Is there a certain amount that just really comes to the forefront in these international games for you?
You saying which games that I thought I was more into it, or
Yeah, just it seems like in these big tournament games and these Memorial Cup games, these international games, it just seems like this laser focus that you're locked in and ready to go.
It does seem like that. It does seem like I kind of elevate it when it is in those big situations, and I think that's a good quality to have as a goalie, where the situation arises where you get in a zone, the feeling, where you need to be, what kind of preparation you need. And this is where I find I do have quite the privilege that I was in those situations quite often. From my 16-year-old year in junior, I got to play some pretty long minutes, long periods of time in high pressure situations at the under 17s, and then we went all the way to the semifinals my first year, and then when we won the Memorial Cup and World Junior Training Camp, and then President's Cup, and then World Juniors in 2014. And I've got a lot of experience in international play and big games, and Game 7, for example. I've been in a few of those. So I think that's a significant part of my journey, where my experiences really help me learn quick in terms of these really, how could I say, high pressure situations. Like the more you go into it, the more you feel like you can really step it up. And I find that that's been a positive factor for me in my career so far.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, that makes a ton of sense. What was it like to play in the Spengler Cup? I mean, that's got to be incredible being over there in Switzerland. I've seen pictures. I've never personally been myself, but it just looks like one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Switzerland is sick, Nick. It's unreal. Like you're literally,
Yeah.
it's so sick. Like you're at the top of the Alps. It's literally a ski resort town. You could walk up and down it. It's so small in a few hours.
That's awesome.
Like it's the tournament is from the 25th of December to the 1st of January. Like it's Christmas and New Year's in the Swiss Alps. It's a ski resort
Wow.
town. It's full of snow. Like I don't know what else to say. Like the rink is full. The tournament's unreal. The atmosphere inside the rink is like first class stuff. Like literally like a soccer game. All of this trumpets, drums, like it's wild, man. It's such a sick thing. And the thing is you get Canadians coming from they're playing in Europe already. A lot of NHL experienced guys I played with, Max Lapierre, Scotty Upshall, Kyle Quincy. I played with some veterans, like some Mason Raymond, Campbell, Gregory Campbell. I played with like some cool NHL veterans that go there for the experience and be part of a sick tournament. And I was a young guy. I was 21, 23, and 24. And I feel like being picked for these things, I feel very, very fortunate because that just gives me confidence that Hockey Canada wants to put me in these types of situations, and they feel confident with me in the net in those situations. So, you know what? I think that's very positive in my whole career and my confidence in my ability, but also just the experience in general. You're talking about what's it like to be in Switzerland. What do you think it's like? It's
Right.
sick. Like,
It lives up to the hype.
Yeah.
like
That's awesome.
you're playing against national league teams, the Swiss league, KHL, Czech league, Dell, Finnish, Swedish league. Like it's dope, man. It's really cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. Just want to talk a little bit more about your NHL career because I know we only have you for X amount of time, and I want to get some of these questions in. So, if you could just talk about what your experience was, the Habs was like. I mean, you're playing for you're in the organization where you grew up. I mean, there's got to be something said for that. It just seems like a really cool experience. If there's any memories that stick out to you.
I mean, it was a very cool experience. I got to play at the Bell Center for many, many preseason games, and I got to back up some real regular season games as well. So those were some really good experiences for me where I got to learn and be around the NHL club and the NHL feel. And I got the chance to even travel the team with the team for some real season games. So that was very positive for me. And I think in the preseason games, it's kind of you do learn a lot during preseason. It's a different feel. It's not the same speed as normal NHL games are, but you do get to learn a lot from it. And had some great training camps, played in some full Bell Centers, really cool. But my time with the Canadiens, for me, I'm going to say, was not very easy personally. I had a good first year in the pros, but then it got tougher, and I went up and down in the leagues. And it wasn't always sunshine and rainbows for me, and I'll be the first one to talk about that, where it wasn't very enjoyable at times, but it was an experience that I obviously had to go through, and I've grown a lot from it. And every hockey player will face these types of situations throughout their life, throughout their career. It's not just hockey, but I went through it. It was fine. We could talk about my time with the Canadiens for a real long time, fellas, but I'll just leave it at that, where, I wish I could have got the chance to play in real games, but, that's just the course. That's the way my journey went. And I moved on to other organizations and wanted to create new opportunities elsewhere. And that's why I'm actually kind of really excited to join the Caps in this time, because I do feel like there's a fit, and do feel like I'm confident in my ability now, more than ever for myself. And I just want to help contribute to the team I'm on, and if it's South Carolina, if it's Hershey to start. We don't know when we're even going to start, when the NHL is going to start. There's no hard dates yet. So I'm still at home right now. I'm in Laval, and I have to just wait for the go. By the time you guys air this, I could be gone tomorrow morning, or I don't know. So I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's what I have to say about my time in Montreal. Obviously, it was a dream, but it wasn't very easy for me personally, and I moved on to other opportunities.
No doubt.
I mean, you got me just about ready to run through a brick wall. So I love your message. I really do. I mean, I mean that. That's a great message for, players out there and just life in general. You never know what people are going through, and that's a great message. And we're rooting for you. We are.
Thanks,
no
brother.
doubt. Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that with us, and congrats on the new signing. That's exciting stuff, and we definitely wish the best for you there.
This year was actually quite the story in terms of the signature of the contract, because I had a deal in the KHL in I'm gonna say May or June, even June. I don't remember. It's kind of a blur. COVID's kind of a blur for me. And so next thing you know, I had a contract in the KHL, and I'm preparing, and we weren't really allowed to train, but I was training underground with my trainer in parks and outside just to keep it clean and everything like that. And I was finding ways to really get ready for the season, because quite frankly, I could have been gone in Europe like early August or whenever they let me, to be honest. Anyway, that fell through. It was very disappointing because I was training really hard to get to there, but it fell through. It didn't work out. That contract didn't go through. And so I was kind of feeling down, looking for other places. I'm like, geez, am I even going to get a contract this year? I wasn't getting NHL offers, wasn't even get AHL offers. And next thing you know, I get a call from my agent and say, hey, Washington wants to talk to you on the phone. He goes, are you free tomorrow? And this is the funny part, because I had like a full day. I had like appointments with this, appointments with that. My dog was this. I think my girlfriend was working. Anything like that. I had a full day. And I go to my agent. I go, yep, I'm free. Anytime you want, I'm free. You know what I mean? When Washington says they want you on a conference call, I'm like, yeah, well, like you tell me. I guess I'll be there, And so yeah, I made it work. I had a great conversation with the goalie coaches. We were literally 5 goalies on the call. The goalie coaches, myself, assistant GM, and my agent, which is another goalie when he played. So we had a great talk, and we really hit it off. And next thing you know, in the next couple of days, I had signed a contract. So it was quite the turn of events. And I'm not going to tell you that it wasn't an emotional roller coaster, because definitely was, man. Like, I had a contract somewhere else, then I was feeling real down. We couldn't even train, couldn't do anything. Everybody's stuck at home, man. It was tough mentally, but this was a great opportunity. It gave me a lot of confidence, gave me a lot of motivation for the summer, and worked real hard to get to where we are now. So I hope they call me right after this to say we have to go play, man.
Me too. That would be incredible.
Yeah.
I bet.
Nick, if you want to drive the train for the last couple questions we have here.
Yeah. Is there anyone that, you can sort of attribute, like, hey, this person really helped me out in my journey? I mean, this could be Pee-wee, this could be up through junior. Is there, like one of your parents, one of the billet families you stayed with, a coach, a goalie coach? Is there someone that just stands out to you?
There's a lot of people I could talk about for a while that have helped me in my life. But I do tell this story a lot, and this was a moment in my life that very much changed the course of how I was thinking at the time. I was telling you, when I was in Montreal, I had a tough time at some point. When I was in Brampton, mentally I was really looking for myself, and I was having a tough time. And I remember my dad, just prior to that, he had a kind of a health scare, and he ended up at the hospital and made it all right. He's all right now. He's much more healthy than he was. He's great now. A lot of people don't recognize him because how he looks now. But what I wanted to say was, I had a day with my dad in Niagara Falls where I really believe, with the wisdom he gave me and the talk we had throughout the day, he really changed the way I thought and looked at things from that moment on. It really kind of was, if you were looking at a TSN turning point, this was really a TSN turning point for me in my life and my career and stuff like that. And since then, I've really changed the way I think. And you're talking about one person, I'm going to go with my dad. And my dad has been a source of inspiration for me since I'm just a young boy. And I think we all have that type of person in our lives, and whether it's our dad, a friend, or whatever. But I do have great friends that I could call anytime, good or bad situation. I'm thinking of a couple individuals in my mind right now. They probably know who they are. That you need to have those people in your corner, and that's the most important thing. Good times, bad times. You know, you need people in your corner, and I had some great people. My father really helped me throughout whatever happened. My mom as well. Obviously, she's my number one cheerleader, but my father, he transmitted some wisdom to me that has really helped me in my everyday life.
Amen. Amen. Nick, I'll let
No, I mean, that's great to hear. You know, you absolutely nailed it. I feel like, you know, everyone sort of needs that person in their life, and it's great that you were able to, you know, have that connection with your dad. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about this company that you're involved with, Living Sisu.
Beauty.
Yeah. What's that like?
Yeah, beauty, man. Thanks for changing gears. I didn't want to be a downer there. I just wanted to share kind of my experience and how I was inspired to change positively. Anyway, yeah, Living Sisu, man. So you guys probably looked it up a little bit, kind of asked yourself questions. We'll talk later. We'll give you guys some premium memberships. Thanks for having me on the show. Basically, look, Living Sisu is free app we created. And to give you a little background, Sisu itself is a Finnish word in origin. I think it dates all the way back to like the Vikings. that's how far back this concept of the Sisu goes. And what it means, it represents like determination, resilience, tenacity, courage, you know, perseverance, anything that has to do with guts and grit. It really encompasses all these concepts together to create the Sisu. And in Finland, a lot of people take this extremely seriously. It's a very important concept in their culture. So we created Living Sisu to educate people on why it's so important to be physically active and to make sports more accessible. That's literally A to Z. Our motto is activate your lifestyle. Like I'm a big, like people in my life know that I take it very seriously in terms of nutrition and sleep and all that. See, I'm wearing the blue light blockers, you know, like I need to get my 8 hours tonight.
They look great.
Thanks. Like they're super, in terms of making sports accessible, that's our mission at Living Sisu. And if you go on our website, you're going to see we're partners with 670 already. We're not even 6 months into this project, and we have 75 partners already offering multiple sports discounts, which is really cool because you have these discounts as a Living Sisu member for free, and this makes sports more accessible to people. And we try and educate as much as we can on the importance of it all, and to have healthy habits, and to put a little bit more Sisu in everyday life. And we create some great events as well to really kind of give the opportunity for people to activate. And it's been really, really great journey to be part of building Living Sisu, guys. I would love for you guys to join our little community and take advantage of all the discounts. Yeah, I mean, yes, Cyber Monday just passed, but Christmas is coming. So if you're a sports guy, honestly, it's actually a no-brainer to join Living Sisu. We're having a lot of fun with it.
Awesome. I mean, that's so good to hear. You know, you talk about making sports accessible. You know, the three of us can tell you, and I'm sure you can attest to this, you know, growing up, hockey gear is not cheap. So, I mean, it's really hard to get that stuff to work. And then, you know, especially now with these kids coming out of, you know, being teenagers and they already have their own power skating coach. I mean, there is such a disparity. I mean, it is ridiculous. So it's great to see that you're doing that and, you know, getting out there to help, you know, like you said, accessibility, making it, you know, because the game is for everyone. So it's great to see that you're doing strides to make that happen.
And that's literally one of the inspirations. Like, look, I'm a goalie, and my two partners, okay, with Living Sisu, the guys that started it were 3 goalies. So we know it's expensive. Like it is. And that's really the main inspiration behind that, is that we want to inspire others to be part of it, to share that mentality and mindset of the Sisu. Like I told you, words like perseverance, resilience, tenacity, courage. Like these are powerful words in the sports community. And if we're all part of that and we share that and we kind of live the Sisu every day, we just lift sports to a whole other level, you know, and it's not just for hockey people. It's for every single sport, from running to freaking snowboarding to speed walking. I don't care. Like, it's for everybody, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa. It really is, you know. Even my dog Stella, she's the official Sisu dog. So at the end of the day, like, it's really for everybody. We're having a lot of fun, guys, and at the end of the day, we just want to inspire people to get in sports. And you guys know all the values and the lessons you've learned from just being a part of a team. I mean, tough times you go through, adversity, winning, losing. These are all valuable things in life. And the Living Sisu community is all about really sharing that experience and inspiring others. And you know what? We're on your podcast right now, but I'm probably going to have you guys on our podcast, which is the Inspire podcast with Living Sisu.
Would love to.
Hell yeah.
I would, you know, really, it would mean a lot for me, for your listeners to check out our podcast. We're going to be launching ours, I think, in 2021, January 2021. So we're in the process, like, of really recording them all right now, but we're having lots of fun. Check out livingsisu.com. It's so many sports discounts that you can get for free, and we're having a lot of fun. Our app is coming out in the next week.
I love the message. I really do. And I think it's a cool company name that you have. Honestly, I think it'll bring some awareness to, you know, how you got about that. Like you just mentioned, you know, we really can't thank you enough. We've spent the last hour with you, and, you know, we're running a little long here. I guess last question is,
that's fine.
Assuming you don't get a phone call tomorrow saying, you know, we're playing the NHL on Jan 1, what's the Christmas season look like for you? Do you go with family anywhere? You know, what's going on?
I mean, I'm not going to make any commitments, because at this point, I know that there's a lot of volatility, a lot of uncertainty around my schedule. The thing is, like you said, I don't know if I could be gone in 1, 2 days, 3 days. So the main thing is keeping myself as ready as possible, getting my ice time in, getting my workouts in, making sure I'm sleeping right, I'm eating right. This is the last little home stretch. We didn't all go through 9 months of this confinement at home to ruin your training with some unmotivated decisions and bad decisions right before the season starts. So for myself, I just want to stay the course, stay the path, make sure I stay disciplined. For me, discipline is a huge part of my kind of regimen and system to play well, actually, to just try and play well. And next thing you know, I'll be gone and we'll get this thing underway. I'm really confident that, you know, we'll figure it out and we'll get out there. I just can't wait to get started, though. I'm really getting anxious, as probably are you. But at the end of the day, I just want to stay ready, get my ice time in, get my workouts in, make sure I make the right choice, and I'm ready for the season, man.
Yeah, we're all getting jittery, and it'll finally give us something to talk about again.
Yeah, we're all ready. We're all ready for
the first shifts are going to be high energy, and then it's just going to be all downhill for you guys. They're just downhill energy.
Yeah, we're going to be coming out of the gate with a sprint. Zach, honestly, thank you so much. We really can't thank you enough.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the tips in terms of the podcast and everything. You guys will help us out. And man, yeah, you can reach out to me anytime. I'm accessible on the Instagram and all that, and just send me a message, and I'll come back anytime you guys want, mid-season or anything like that. You just let me know.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, man. This was awesome.
We really appreciate it. We're rooting for you. Good luck this season.
Appreciate you, fellas.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, fellas.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, fellas.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you, fellas.